Hello and welcome to another episode of the Appelboom Bites podcast. Today is episode number 28 already, and we have two amazing guests on the show today. So let me first introduce our co-host who's here with us for a few weeks. Last week he was there already. It is the one and only Michal Waltinger, aka Scrively. Welcome, Michal. How are you doing?
I am doing extraordinarily well today. Thanks for having me as a co-host. Last week was very fun, and I think this week will be equally fantastic.
It will be a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure because we have we have an amazing guest. It is Michal Kulka, and I hope that I pronounced your name correctly.
Almost.
Almost okay. Michal.
Michal.
Mihao. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Mihao. So I have Mihao and I have Michael. And maybe I will just call myself Michael or something, the show to keep it in that area. So Michal Kulka of Tamanuri Studio, and welcome on the show, Michal. Michal,
Hi,
how are you
thanks
doing?
for. I'm very well, as you can see, smiling, and thanks for having me.
It is amazing to have you here. You're currently in quite a busy period in your life,
Oh
as I
yes,
can say.
as you can see, living around under over boxes and
Living
packing
the
time
dream, living the dream.
and living the dream at the same time. Yeah, moving
All
to
right, we
France
will we
in two
will
weeks.
we will talk a little bit later about that on the
Yeah.
show. We will talk a little bit later on that in the show. Well, first of all, before we start the podcast, we always do the pen check.
The pen check.
So, Michael, would you like to start with your pen check first?
No, not today. No, not today.
No? Okay.
Oh.
Then, Michal, can you start if Michael doesn't want to?
Okay, I do the second mover.
Okay, so I will decided to stick with Urushi, of course, but not my pen. I have one of mine ready to show too, but maybe later. I took the pen I write the most, and it's Nakaya. It's cigar. It's the thicker one, the 17 millimeter one, and with medium nib, as far as I remember. Yes, this medium nib, and it's inked, and I write with it. It's in Tamenuri, this one. What is funny, this naming of Tamenuri styles or colors we know from Nakaya is not orthodox. It's nothing which is standard in Japan or something like that. Nakaya came up with their own naming, and for example, they distinguish between Akatamenuri and Kurotamenuri, and almost no one else distinguishes those two because they differ only with the overlying color and not the base layer. So it's my pen. Pen
It's
check.
nice. It's wonderful.
Check.
Thank you.
Check.
Awesome. Should I know, Joost, or do you want to ask a question?
No, you can do your pen check now.
Okay, let me do my pen check. So I'm having with me today one of the latest releases of Kaweco, which is the Kaweco Original, basically an aluminium pen, such as the AL Sport, and same shape and design language as the AL Sport, as you can see, just that it's a more or less fully fledged pen. I would say it's like a legit pen. It's not a massive pen, but it's definitely you're definitely able to write with it uncapped, as opposed to the Kaweco Sport. That one you can't even cap, or you can, but it's a very dodgy experience. But it's a nice pen, and it's available, I think, with smaller nibs that they have on the Sport. This one here happens to be the one with the 250 nib, which is a number 6 size.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I think it's a very, very nice writer, and very, very sturdy little pen. Quite affordable, and I think a nice move that Kaweco has pulled off there recently.
It's amazing. It's an amazing pen. I think it's launched now already for a few months, and that run on those bigger nibs, it was crazy. Because it's the same nib that they have as on the Supra, so it's the bigger nib. And if you also have the smaller nibs next to it, Can you show it to us? And a little bit to the left. Yes, thank you.
Well, that's the difference.
Yes, it's quite a difference. So it's
And it's a bit
it's great.
thicker as well.
Yeah,
it's a great writer. Yeah, it's a little bit thicker. Great writer. I can recommend it. Review will come soon. By the way, I have recently published a review of the Pelikan M605 Tortoise-Shell Black, which was my pen check last week. That review is now up on YouTube. Little bit shameless self-promotion. Sorry for that. And the review of that pen will come soon.
Please
Joost,
check it out,
what's
everybody.
your pen?
My pen for this week, it is the Leonardo Supernova. I think it was already a pen check of mine a few weeks ago, but I just grabbed it again. It's just an amazing pen with so much color in it. And I think that Leonardo did a great job on this one. It has some brownish, some blue, some turquoise in it, and it has rose gold trims, which is pretty nice. And it has a medium nib on it, which is okay. Normally I prefer the broader nibs, but a medium nib, that works for me as well. So Leonardo did a great job on this one. They're selling pretty fast, and Leonardo's almost at the end of their numbers. So if you still want to grab one, make sure to don't hesitate too long, because they will sell out pretty fast. All right, enough about the pen checks. Let's go to Michal, because we have a question for you, and it was from our previous guest. It was Clarissa, aka the Snowy Studio, and she had quite an interesting question for you, because the question was, what is the most exciting experience you had on a pen show?
Oh, maybe it was not the exciting experience on the pen show, but it was the pen show which was different and very exciting and different from any other. I'm not a heavy pen show attender, because like I'm in a pen making for just 3 years, and large part of this time we had some friendly virus like going around the world and disturbing the normal pen show schedule. And before that, I was just on several pen shows. So it was not a typical pen show. There is a pen festival in Istanbul, and it was organized by Marka Kalem, and they are trying to bring the trend and bring the interest and bring brands and pen lovers in Turkey together, and organize a platform for them to meet and to talk and to see new stuff. And they are a, a distributor, but they invited all other distributors and pen makers and companies and brands which are available or not yet available in Turkey. For example, my neighbors on the pen show were very nice guys from Esterbrook. So they were not officially available in Turkey then, but they were invited by the organizers to this place, and it was very different from any other pen show I was in Europe, because on any pen show, people who approached my stand, for example, they knew that I'm making fountain pens, of course, and most of them knew what is Urushi. And in Turkey, it was a lot of education, a lot of talking from the very basics, talking people through fountain pens, nibs, not to mention Urushi. So it was very interesting experience, because I felt like a special mission of educating people in Istanbul, in Turkey, about fountain pens. And we all of us, Annabelle was there with us, and some other people from Europe, and it was really nice. Great city. I've been just once before in Istanbul. It was organized absolutely outstanding. It was there were people there who were on many other pen shows, including DC, SF, and so on, and they all agreed that it was absolutely the top-notch level of organization, and it invested a lot of money, and it was great fun. Maybe not the best sales because it's a very new market, but it was really great fun. We all had great fun.
No, I heard the same experience from Annabelle, of course, because
Yeah.
I was not able to attend because that weekend was the birthday of my daughter. So yeah,
Okay.
was a little bit difficult. If I would go to the show, then I would have some problems at home. But
Possible.
yeah, but Annabelle, she told the same thing. She was really excited about how everything was organized and
Yeah.
how friendly the people are and things like that. So it was really. She was really happy with the show, and she said the same thing. She said the same thing about the audience, that it is not. It's a different audience compared to, let's say, in DC, where you have like the more experienced collectors, but that's also okay.
What's the
For
reason
let's
for
say
that? Is it because in Turkey you don't write with fountain pens in school when you grow up, or is it just like more of a? Is there any hypothesis on why this is a less mature market, so to speak?
Mm, several different reasons, probably. Turkey is a slightly shifted in development in terms of uh, how to define it. Uh, they are for like last 20 or 30 years, they are in the mode of intense modernization. Yes, and this modernization is like having things easier, faster, better, newer, modern, and so on.
Interesting.
And in most of Western countries, European countries, and states, and countries which started developing sooner and on a slightly different path, uh, we are already, some of the society is fed up with it, and we want something which is more traditional, and so on. And in Turkey, if you want to have something traditional, you would go to traditional calligraphy. And
Right.
the funny thing is that the traditional calligraphy was eradicated almost totally in Turkey, because if you know a little bit about the history of Turkey, Kemal Atatürk, after he came to power, and like he was the 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 man the politicians who made the country a modern democratic, more or less democratic country, and he was very strong on secularization, so eradicating a lot of different areas of life which were connected strongly with Islam was very important part of his politics. So it also eradicated a traditional Arabic calligraphy from schools. So it was the part of his
Okay.
process probably
Interesting.
too. So it's pretty complicated possibly. I love
Yeah,
Turkey. I've
I'm
been to
just aware
Turkey
that we
many.
don't want to make this into like
Yeah, yeah, but it was very
a
interesting
small
because we met.
handbook of the history of Turkey or something
Yeah,
like that.
It's fair,
we
no, but
we
Michael, it's a really interesting question. In 2 weeks, we will have Zainab on the show,
yeah.
who is Turkish, so we might ask her the
Well,
same
great.
question as
Would be
well.
would be
Sh
great. Would be great.
yeah, it might be really interesting to see
Yeah.
how she looks at this.
No, I
Um,
cannot ask the question to the next one, but the second next one.
No, no, no,
Okay,
no, no.
later.
It's for you. Is the next one. And later on, it's for the next one. All right. Well, I think Clarissa, your answer is there.
Yeah.
The Istanbul Pen Show. It's the Super Pen Show, I think, right? Istanbul Super Pen Show.
Pen Festival, Pen
Penfest.
Festival.
Penfest. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, it's the DC Super Pen Show and the Istanbul Penfest. Really nice. All right. Michal, let us talk a little bit about the Tamenuri studio. How did it all started? Why the name? We just want to know everything, actually.
Okay, so it
How much
started as a
time do you
hobby.
have, Joost?
We will make an extended episode for you, Michal.
Okay,
No
I will
problem.
try to be brief. So it will be the brief version of the history. So
Of course.
it started as a hobby. So I got into fountain pens. I got into fountain pens several times. So I was writing with fountain pens in primary school because it was normal, and I
Hmm.
wrote with some Chinese knockoff of Parker 51, and which were like very popular then in communist countries because I was born in a communist country then, and I was in school, which was still before 1999, so it was still a communist country. And I wrote with the Chinese knockoff. It was some Hero or something like that. I don't remember, but I remember the pen. I remember the shape, but I don't remember the brand. But I remember the Hero ink,
Hmm.
and I remember it exactly. So I wrote with blue black Hero ink with the Hero knockoff of Parker 51. Then I ditched it and I wrote with pens, ballpoints mostly, and through the secondary school, high school, and so on, and came back to fountain pens during my university time. I was in the Warsaw School of Economics, doing MA in economics, and I came back to fountain pens because I could make notes for longer without getting tired because you do not
Hmm.
have to press the pen into the paper, it just writes. So you can write for much longer with a fountain pen without getting tired. And you can
Of
change
course.
ink colors and so on and so on. So I used fountain pens during like 2 or 3 years during my university and then ditched them again because they were not very practical from my point of view. And I was then a very practical man. I was very pragmatic. But in all this pragmatism, I had a mm, something. When I finished, I was a suit, typical suit. I was guy in a suit. I was like a C-level management in several different industries and companies. I was mostly in e-commerce, marketing, then banking, and private banking. And when I finished an important project, something big, some big assignment, like something which I was happy with, I used to buy myself a gift, a present. So one of those gifts was a fountain pen, and it was pen I considered then kind of luxury or something like that. I didn't know anything about fountain pens, so I
Hmm.
I came into the shop, or it's something blingy and expensive, and I bought it, and it was Graf von Faber-Castell, classic ebony, with the the first. It was the first 2 or 3 years of production of those pens, so the nib was splendid, and it's still a great pen, and I like it. I write much less with it because it's heavy and it has a metal section. It's a great writer,
Hmm.
but I do not like metal sections anymore,
Hmm.
and I prefer lighter pens. But
Yeah.
it writes great, but not for long writing sessions. So it was a comeback to fountain pens, but as usual with such gifts, with guys who it was a vanity gift for myself. So as with any vanity gift, it went to the drawer after several months, and it stayed there for another 10 years probably. And it was several, maybe not 10, but maybe 6 years later. So 6 years later, I noticed that my son has trouble writing. He writes horrible. He wrote horribly. It was his fourth grade or something like this. I
Hmm.
bought him I bought him a dip pen because I remembered from school that writing with dip pen like forces you to write more consciously and so on and so on. I bought several nibs, several holders, a bottle or 2 bottles of ink, and I sat with him and let's write. And it appeared that I have much more fun writing with those dip pens than he does. So I got excited and I digged through my drawers and I found this Graf von Faber-Castell, which was like a crusted dried ink inside, and I found another pen from my university time, and I cleaned them. I watched million of YouTube videos how to make the nib write well after such a mishap, I learned how to tune the nibs, and through YouTube, I watched all Stephen Brown videos and and several other reviewers
That's
too.
a lot.
Yes, whole 10 years of YouTube, including some
What about
ephemera
the
of him.
what about the Scrively videos?
Which what? Sorry?
Scrively,
Who's that dude? I don't
Scrively.
know who that is. I don't know
Sorry,
who that is.
I didn't know you then, and it was like 5 years ago or something, maybe more. What I was 8 years ago. Uh, I started buying pens, and initially it was hoarding. So it was like buying some random pens I liked, and then those random pens became more expensive and more deliberately chosen, and then something like a grail pen appeared in my mind. So the idea that there is a pen I want, but I'm not really convinced that I should spend so much money on the pen, because it was like unthinkable for me that spending more than 200 or 300 euro for a pen was unthinkable. But
Mhm.
then I broke this barrier with some effort, and then another one, and then another one, and so on and so on. So I ended up
Mhm.
buying some pens like Nakaya, dorsal fin, and some other crazy expensive pens. Maybe not as crazy expensive as I would buy now. I'm almost not buying pens anymore, because pens I
Mhm.
like
No, now you make them
are
yourself.
Because then at some
yes,
There
but
point
was
it,
there
you
was
thought,
one
it
let me
moment.
changes.
stop buying all these crappy pens. Now I show all of them how to make something
Yeah.
Yes,
actually properly.
exactly. Well, guys, I make such things. It's number 8 nib, 145 millimeters long. It's Raden. It's shiny. It's perfectly polished. Why should I buy a piece of plastic?
It's perfectly
Mm.
Polish.
Polish, yes, Polish. It's Polish and polished.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem, because I have at any moment in time I have like 100 Urushi pens at home, maybe
Mhm.
in different stages of becoming a pen, of
Mhm.
course. But I almost stopped buying new pens,
I think
but
this is the
it
wild
also
dream of a lot of people, being surrounded by
Yeah.
100 Urushi pens in different
yeah.
shapes and forms.
But the another problem is that the pens I like now are really crazy expensive. For example, John Anderson. He shows like incredible pens, and you just have some of them in your offer. For example, the Namiki Emperors in Chinkin, for example, like 8,000 euro, 9,000 euro, 12,000
But
euro
now you can make them
piece.
yourself, so you don't have
Not
to buy
yet.
them anymore.
Not yet.
Oh.
Not yet.
Oh.
Wait a
Okay.
few years for Chinkin. Yes, it's much more difficult, but I will get there. Anyway,
That's the spirit.
it's a lot of fun, and I bought my first Nakaya pen. I bought it from, I don't remember. Was it in Poland, or was it a one of your wealthy competitors in Europe? But I bought a
We don't have
Nakaya. It was
competitors. We only have colleagues.
okay. So one of your colleagues in Europe.
Hmm.
I think from Catherine from Sakura, and
Oh, she's
I bought.
amazing.
Yes,
She has an
she
amazing store. I can
she
recommend
is
everybody to go there and have a
absolutely,
look in her gallery,
and it's a
definitely.
beautiful place. It's a beautiful place,
Yeah.
and a beautiful owner in terms of a beautiful person.
Hmm.
I'd say it was the moment that I got hooked with Urushi, because I knew about Urushi and I read about it, and I knew that it is special and it's considered to be something extraordinary. But a lot of other things were considered extraordinary. For example, Visconti, Homo sapiens, bronze, this lava something one, and it
But
was considered
at which point did you had a thought like, hmm, maybe I can do it better?
maybe not better, but it was like I bought this pen and
Hmm.
I got hooked and I started reading about Urushi. Japan is something also a kind of ephemeric interest for me, because I used to be interested in Japan a lot. Then I stopped, and I used to do Aikido for like 4 years during my university time, and my interest in Japan was revived. And then was dropping it and coming back to this hobby, interest, or passion, or
Guys,
however you
just
call
for
it.
the record, I'm now striking through my third question that I had prepared for you, Michal, because you answered them all already as we go, but that's fine.
Cool. Great minds will think alike.
I have two
Right.
left. Let's see if I.
Okay. I will talk about the beginnings, and then I will give you a chance. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So I decided to. Maybe not decided. I started reading about Urushi, and what happened was that uh, you can learn anything from internet, like anything. And 12 years ago, I wanted to build a car from scratch, and I learned how to build this car. It was a replica of Lotus Super 7 by Colin Chapman from the 50s. I built it from scratch,
Wow.
like
Wow.
from welding the frame and designing some parts of the car and rebuilding the engine and
Now
and
we're
so on.
talking.
I built the supercar from scratch. It was crazy fast,
Wow.
both on straights and on corners. It was great, and I learned it from YouTube and from other internet sources. And I was absolutely convinced that it's possible to build anything, to learn anything. Nope, not Urushi, not then.
No?
Like 4 years ago, there was nothing about Urushi on YouTube. Maybe some videos from Japan in Japanese made for tourists, or something like there are Urushi lacquer artists in Japan, like 5 second shot of someone lacquering something, and then like
Hmm.
fast forward to something completely different. It was difficult. I found sources which were written in 1895. It was a PhD thesis by an American who studied in UK on Oxford,
Hmm.
and he went to Japan to study Urushi art, and he wrote a PhD thesis on chemistry of Urushi lacquer. So it was one of my sources because he described some techniques and he described the chemistry of the lacquer. And from my point of view, understanding how things work is the most important things. For example, why I learned Urushi much faster than people usually do in Japan. Because I focused not on doing things, learning how to do things from someone who knows how to do them, but I focused on understanding how Urushi works, how it
Hmm.
behaves, both on chemical and physical level, and to play with it. So I recreated a lot of techniques not knowing about them.
Hmm.
So I like reverse engineered some stuff and got to the sequence of layers of sanding and of processes, which at the end, after 1 year, I noticed that they are almost identical to traditional techniques developed several hundred years ago. So I
Wow.
learned I learned from different sources, but I didn't even touch Urushi because I was convinced that it's crazy difficult. It's not attainable in Europe. It's difficult to import to Europe, and it's poisonous, and so on and so on and so on. So
Hmm.
everything we typically know about Urushi, so dangerous, toxic, difficult, uh, difficult to get, difficult
A
to
lot of
use, very
warnings. A lot of
very
warnings
very
for the
expensive,
Urushi.
and so on and so on. So I was convinced that it works this way, but I broke this barrier. First, Urushi, what is funny, I bought from German shop. It's Dictum, which is a shop in Germany for a handymans, for people who work with wood, and they have a surface finish section, and they have some Urushi. They buy it from Watanabe Shoten in Japan, and they
Hmm.
resell it under their own brand in their shop. This is some absolutely basic stuff in absolutely outrageous prices, like 300, three times more than directly from Watanabe, even including the VAT, shipping, and so on. But I still
Hmm.
like them, and I buy a lot of stuff for them for woodworking, but not for Urushi anymore. But for starters, it's good because you can buy just one tube and do not have to pay like a lot of money for shipping. So
Hmm.
it's cool. And I bought some Urushi and started playing with it. Of course, I started with gloves and all the precautions and so on, but one day I accidentally touched my nose with the brush. I didn't notice that, and I noticed it 2 hours later, and I was surprised that I I'm not like dying with some dermatitis.
And
You're
ever
still
since
there.
you bathe in Urushi.
And next day, no, and next day, next day I made the experiment. I applied Urushi directly on my skin, on my forearm here, on both hands, just different types of Urushi. I left it there for several hours, scraped it off, and waited. No reaction, zero. So I'm in 5% of very fortunate people who are absolutely immune to Urushi. Later,
Wow.
I got I knew, I learned that it's possible for the reaction to develop after several weeks, but it never developed. I can mix urushi with my finger, and I do it sometimes for some techniques. So
It saves you
uh,
on tools. That's good.
uh, no, yeah, I still need tools, and the funny is tools for urushi are much more expensive than urushi itself, like brushes and sanding tools. It's usually much more expensive than the Urushi I use. Okay, so that was the beginning, and it started as a hobby. I considered it a hobby, and I wanted it to be a hobby. Then I sold my shares in a legal services company, and I was co-managing a small strategy boutique, advisory boutique in uh, doesn't matter. Well, I was doing something completely different. I was still
Yeah.
wearing a suit. I was earning money, thinking and talking and negotiating and stuff like this. So it was a hobby.
hmm
You have a chance to ask the question. If I haven't answered,
You
you
haven't
have
answered it yet,
already.
but I think Joost wants me to answer the question in the end. Ask the question in the end. Or not Joost?
Yeah. You have to ask it later.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So
All right. So and now
shall I
it's an whole
continue?
business. And no,
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 it's
no,
not
no,
all
no. So
business. No, it's not business.
it's still hobby.
Yes, fortunately, it's still a passion. I was afraid because 2 years ago,
Yeah.
almost exactly 2 years ago, well, it was the story goes that I started making pens, like lacquering pens. Initially, it was a bunch of Parker Frontiers which were lying in my drawer, and I lacquered the barrels. Then I lacquered one ebonite pen from India I had in my drawer. It was a Ranga. Then I thought, wow, cool. It makes sense. So I ordered some more pens from Ranga, from Mr. Pandurangan. I talked to him on the phone, and I told him I was going to India to do yoga then. So to have a break from my career and to go for 2 weeks to do some yoga in Mysore, so the like a capital of yoga in India. And I went to India and I decided to skip a few days of yoga and go to the other shore, to the other part of India, from Bangalore to Madras, to Chennai, to meet them. I had an itinerary that I had like 2 hours to visit them, and then I wanted to go to the ocean coast and so on. I ended up spending whole day with them. I was absolutely fascinated. I was like watching pens being made on a 60 years old lathe by hand. Mm, the threads made by hand, like freehand turning threads. It was absolutely
Wow.
incredible. And
That's impressive.
I bought 20 ebonite pens. I got back with them to Poland. I started lacquering them. In the meantime, I started talking to Nabi from Wet and Wise from Belgium and asked him to make pens for me because I was not going to make pens then. I was not interested in making pens in terms of turning pens
hmm
because I thought it's difficult. So I decided to go with Urushi.
hmm
Pretty crazy, if you know what I mean. So I bought pens from Ranga and I bought pens from Nabi and lacquered them. And it was still a hobby. I invested a lot of money in tools and in lacquer, in pens, without no intention of selling them. I just wanted to have a lot of pens to make. Uh, but there was a moment when I sent 2 pens to 2 guys I considered very important in my development of the passion to fountain pens and to Urushi. I sent one to David Parker with the letter,
Mm-hmm.
and another one
Fleetwood Town Pants.
to Stephen Brown. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote them generally the same in different words because they are different guys. So my communication with them was different, but the general idea was the same. Thank you. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
the work you're doing for the community and for my opportunity to watch countless hours of great content you made. And I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot from you guys, and I wanted to pay back somehow. Have my pen. I'm beginner. I did something like this,
Mm-hmm.
and just
That's
it's a
a
present.
nice gesture. Very, very nice gesture.
I never intended to sell pens. And Stephen,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, he wrote me or he called me that he wants to make a review of my pen. I said that sorry, but it makes no sense because I'm not selling pens. I don't sell pens, so making a review of pen which you cannot buy makes little sense. He
Mm-hmm.
said then that okay, so let me know when you decide to sell your pens. Then I will publish this review. I will make it
Mm-hmm.
anyway, and I will
Typically
publish it later.
Steven. This is typically Steven.
And he did it because a
Yeah.
few weeks later someone asked me on Instagram because I was publishing those pens on Instagram, and at the same time I was making YouTube videos because I decided, so if there is no content about Urushi, I decided to show my struggle and my way. Yes, so I was
Mm-hmm.
documenting what I'm learning about pens and Urushi and what I'm doing with some videos on YouTube, and they like got up and people watched them and asked questions and they were very excited, and I still keep.
It's a pretty interesting technique, of
Yes,
course.
but some of those videos are like I laugh at them now because I what I say and what I show on them is just no, it's not true. It should be done differently. But
Yeah, but
anyway,
it's always the
it
case.
was a lot of fun.
If I look at the videos that I made for Appelboom, let's say 5 6 years ago when I start doing this, I'm like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
We
something
are
like
all
it's
this.
learning
So
and
so
progressing, aren't we?
yeah, that's
I keep them on my channel because it's connected with my plans, but they are there. I sent them the plans. Both answered some. Stephen, David answered some in some polite words, thank you, and with no real follow up. Stephen answered with the offer of making a review. I was afraid being reviewed by Stephen because he's
he can
nice
be
and
quite critical.
well, he's not. He's very critical in a very smart way, and
Hmm.
this way of being critical is the most painful from the point of view of a guy like me because he never
Hmm.
says a bad word, but between the lines and between the lines, which are between the lines, he can pass the communication which is not visible at the first. Which is not visible for anyone,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's a very strong criticism. But so I was afraid. But a few weeks later, someone wanted to buy a pen from me because they saw it on Instagram, and okay, can I buy this pen? I don't sell pens, but you made a lot of pens. Like, why can't you sell it? Okay, what would you pay for this pen? Well, 200 euro. Okay. I sold it, and so I thought, okay, it will be a supplement. It will supplement my budget for this
Yeah.
hobby, which became like crazy expensive. Then I at some point I was spending 1,000 euro a month on Urushi, on tools,
Wow.
on stuff like this. Uh, I sold this pen, and next day I thought, okay, maybe I put a few others for sale. It was
Hmm.
during the holiday. I was leaving for like a week getaway with my son and my family on the lake somewhere in the woods, and I published a post with 5 pens. They are for sale. I gave some prices, and they sold in 1 hour. It's wow.
And
Cool.
that's where it all started. The Tamanuri studio.
And then the Tamenuri studio was born, more or less. Then,
Yeah.
I decided that I will make some pens, which will be, I will not change anything. I will make pens I want to make,
Hmm.
but I will put them for sale after some time. I will play with them. I will learn. I will show them. I will describe them on the channel or on Instagram. But then I will sell them and I will make more pens this way.
Hmm.
And it was growing fast, and it was much. I was selling out all the time. It was very difficult for me to keep up with the demand. And
Hmm.
Stephen published his review, which was great, and it created the avalanche of inquiries.
Hmm.
And a few months later, he made another step because he placed my pen in this goat video he
Oh
makes every
wow,
year, and he publishes it
that's impressive.
on Christmas, on New Year's Eve. So I
Hmm.
became a goat, so one of 10 pens he chooses once a year to feature on his channel. And
Hmm.
with the most watched reviewer in the world, then I don't know how it works now, but probably the same. And being in the GOAT, which is the most watched movie during the year, it was crazy.
Hmm.
And a few months later, he placed me in his official personal collection because he writes with hundreds of pens a year, and he used
Yeah.
to have maybe thousands of pens, but his
Hmm.
personal collection is very narrow. It's like 20 something, 30 something pens only. And one day he showed this personal collection, and my pen was still there after a year. And then David came back and he bought pen this time from me because he said that he does not want to make a review of the pen he received for free. He wants to buy a
Hmm.
pen. He bought a pen. He chose the pen. He bought a pen and he made a review, which was very nice for me too. Several other reviews
Of course.
appeared. And Tamenuri Studio was born 3 years ago, but became my only source of income 2 years ago. I
Wow.
ended all the other businesses, all the other contracts. I dropped the suit and hanged it in the wardrobe for good. And
Nice.
my hands are always dirty with Urushi and ink. And then I bought the lathe, and I started turning pens myself. And
Hmm.
to be frank, I was really disappointed that it's so easy. I expected it to be much harder.
Hmm.
Especially turning pens for Urushi is easy because the only thing you have to crack is the threads, because threads are
Yeah.
very difficult and important, but you do
You
not
only have
have
to
to
make the
care about
base.
it. Base is easy.
Yeah.
I learned turning pens in 1 week. I was learning Urushi for 2 years, and
Hmm.
it was still not perfect. But I turned perfectly usable pen for Urushi in 1 week. So I was disappointed, and I was also disappointed with casting resins because I have a short venture into resin casting fun. I casted
Hmm.
100 blanks, trying to replicate some blanks I know, and it was boring uh, for me, like crazy
Well, it's
boring.
important that you have found something that you really like, and that's I think
Yeah,
that's
it
the
was
most
it was too
important thing, right?
easy.
That
But
you
what
can
makes me what
earn
makes me
money
tick
with
is
your hobby.
learning. Yeah, what
Yeah.
makes me tick is learning. So if I can
Yeah.
learn, if I'm forced to learn, if there are some problems to be solved all the time, it's interesting.
Hmm.
When I stop learning, it's usually becoming boring, uninteresting, and I
Well,
stop
maybe
doing
I
this.
can learn you. I can learn you something because I have some new products that I would like to share. So maybe I can learn you something about those new
Give it,
products.
give it, shoot it.
New products.
So TWSBI launched another new fountain pen, and this time
I
it is
I have
the
I have some Twisby. People
it is
expect that
there.
most pens I have are Urushi pens. No, I have 5 Twisby or more.
I believe that. I think you have a lot of brands. This time it is the Diamond Mini range. It is the Mini All Grape pocket fountain pen with a piston filling system. It is resulting in a large ink capacity, 1.3 milliliters. For such a small fountain pen, that's pretty large. The TWSBI Diamond Mini is made of polycarbonate with silver colored details, and the cap is smooth while the barrel is faceted. I don't know if you can see it, but I will make some close-ups and put it in the video. The pen has a clear barrel that shows the mechanism pretty well, which is nice on this one because the mechanism is in purple, and the clear body gives the TWSBI also a different look depending on the ink which is filled with it. The TWSBI logo finishes the top of the cap, and noticeables also on this Grape editions are, of course, the purple colored grip section, which is a smooth grip section on this one. To show the color a little bit better, I also have the TWSBI Eco Lilac next to it. I will show this one in the B footage video as well. Michal,
Can I add something about the TWSBI? Because
yeah,
it was one of the first pens I bought for my son, because he writes with fountain pens exclusively too, was TWSBI Me. Different. It was like a yellow one. I don't remember which one. There is a fun, great the feature. No. It was before the Eco became popular. So it was the mini one. And the fun feature is, I don't know if it's the same on this pen. You can like screw on the cap on the finial.
Yes.
And it becomes a pretty like a normal size pen, and it's very comfortable. Yes. It's very small. It's very cool for like pocket size pen. But after you put you screw the cap at the end, it screws very securely. It's a normal size, very comfortable and very nice pen. I like it.
I'm not that good in those comparisons. I think Michal is better in the comparisons than I am. Michal, what color would you add in this? Would you put into this fountain pen to match with the purple ink?
I usually, if there is a obvious color element on the pen, I usually match it with the ink from the same hue. So I'm not sure with this one, but it would be purple probably. I do something crazy stuff sometimes, but I'm not also very keen on very exact matching a pen with the ink. But in this case, in case of TWSBI, I have, and all demonstrator pens I have, I usually go with something which goes well with this, or matches the same color, or goes well with the color. If there were something,
if you're
like
watching this right now, just let us know in the comments below what you think would be a great color.
Some red. It's a good idea. Some reds could go well. Of course, almost any purple. Some, this area. Even some browns, like maroon or something like this, would go well with this one.
Yeah, would be a great match. Another release that I would like to mention is quite something. It is one of the most popular models of Diplomat, or actually, I think this is the most popular color, or the most popular model of Diplomat. It is the Aero, and this time it is not a matte finish like we usually see on this model, but a lacquered edition in pearl white. The Aero is characteristic by the groove-like depressions on the barrel and cap, which lends the pen next to its classic form and modern spirit. The lacquered finish is something completely new, and I'm wondering if they will continue this in the future with other colors as well. Actually, we can ask this to the CEO of Diplomat, Matthias Ringard, will be our next guest on the episode, on the show. Michal.
Joost, now you revealed it.
Oh. Yeah, that was not really smart. Okay.
Blooper.
We will cut this out. We will cut this
Okay.
out. Nobody will know. All right. But Michael, what
Yeah.
color are we missing in the Aero assortment?
Not me.
Which one do you mean?
Michael.
The one with the
Michael.
glasses or the one with the glasses?
Michael. The bald guy.
Yes.
All right. That was pretty. What color do we miss? I don't know. I mean, like they made, I think, orange ones, they made black ones, they made silver ones, they made brown ones. I'm not sure if they made
Orange
a red
was cool,
one.
actually.
Orange
I
was
loved it.
cool. Orange was cool. I mean, the Aero is actually, I mean, like it's shaped after a Zeppelin, the airship.
Yes.
And they built a Zeppelin actually down in Friedrichshafen, which is in southern Germany, not far from my hometown. But I'm wondering if they ever made Aero in the color of the first Zeppelin ever made. That would actually be pretty cool.
What was the color of the first?
I have no
Zeppelin ever
clue.
made?
There's some research for all the Google people out
It
there.
should be.
Maybe it was silverish or grayish or anthracite or something.
It was
That's
like
a good
a off-white because it was covered with the fabric. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
It was
So I
covered
think
with the.
I'm not sure if they ever done an off-white. That I'm not sure about. But I mean, like they
We can
produced
ask it next
recently
week.
all
Next
these,
week we ask it.
you know, with the orange lines and whatnot. I think I have one here with like one with the orange lines. I'm
Yeah.
going to review that soon as well. But it's a cool pen, the Aero. It's like a very,
It's
very
a cool
comfortable,
pen.
super lightweight. I personally
And it's a
prefer
good.
the Excellence.
Typically,
I find
it's
that
a
nicer,
very good
but-
writer.
Yeah, but it's a good, and they have fantastic nibs, these Aeros.
Yeah,
Awesome nibs.
exactly.
Definitely. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Michael, do you have your last question for Michal?
You know, I mean, to be honest, I think I have recreated that last question about 7 times or so, because he answered all of them, right? And like some of them more
Yeah.
explicit, some of them more implicit. So I recreated 3 new questions, and I'm going to ask one of them. And you talked a little bit about, you know, your life before being a pen maker and your life now being a pen maker. So I wanted to ask you, what is the best thing about being a pen maker and Urushi artist? What's the coolest thing? What's the thing that you enjoy most about your new life as opposed to the...
That's a good question.
It's impossible to say it's just one thing because it's a combination of several different changes in my life, which I love because they are connected one with another. Because working with Urushi requires patience and requires some peace of mind because otherwise you will not get good results. People start working with Urushi, trying Urushi, but they give up because there is no instant reward. You have to do a lot and wait a long time and be very, very patient. So there is it taught me patience. It is some kind of a meditation because maybe not lacquering, but sanding and polishing the pen for several hours. It's kind of a meditative state. I tend not to distract myself. For example, I see pen makers watching or listening to podcasts or watching movies while working on lathe. I don't do this. When I work with Urushi, I do not even listen to music. I turn everything off, and I'm only doing this, and I'm not thinking about a lot of other things. I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I'm now. I'm here. I'm now, and I cannot describe a mindfulness better than being here and now.
Yeah.
And it gave me a lot of peace of mind. I became more patient in my non-Urushi life, so a lot of other things I do. And even my family, my son noticed that it's visible, the change in me. I became more peaceful and more. I'm happier.
Awesome.
So
That's the
Beautiful.
most important thing.
Great.
and yeah, it gives me a lot, and I wouldn't trade it for anything I did before. Absolutely, absolutely not. Maybe it's like money wise, it's not the best idea to be an Urushi artist in Europe. It's not the greatest idea of all times. It's cool, but it's I did much better in my career, but I'm the happiest ever. And it's what I
That's
was
important.
afraid.
That's the most
I me-
important thing.
I mentioned this
100%.
at one point. I was really afraid that if I buy lathes and I drop other stuff and I will become a full-time pen maker
Mm.
or slash urushi artist, whatever, and I will earn money only from this, because earning money creates pressure always. It's normal, and there is a pressure. I count how many pens I can make, I can sell. I'm excited when I'm selling more than usual, and sometimes I'm getting a little bit nervous when, for example, this month I was super busy with the move and renovation, and for most of that month I sold one pen or two pens.
Mhm.
I started becoming nervous, but it's still nothing in comparison with what I was like. I was crazy nervous in comparison with this in my work as an employee or employer or my boss of myself or whatever. And my friends from my previous life, like previous careers, ask me a lot, "How, Michael? How are you going to scale this?" It's a magic word, scaling. I'm not going to. There is a story about this fisherman, uh, like lying in the hammock on the beach, drinking a coconut milk directly from a coconut. And there is a rich guy in his boat coming to the shore. There is him as an investment banker, and he talks to this guy because he's interested with him. What are you doing? I'm a fisherman, and this is my boat. So why you are not fishing right now? It's the middle of the day. I went to get some fish in the morning, and I caught some fish. I sold them, and now I'm lying on my hammock and drinking coconut milk. Why don't you go another time and buy this, like catch more fish, sell more fish? You could buy another boat, and then you could hire someone, and then you could have five boats. And why? You would earn a lot of money. For what? You know, having a lot of money, you could lie in the hammock and drink good drinks. What am I doing right now?
Yeah.
It's exactly. I'm not gonna scale. I will have apprentices. I want to have because
Hmm.
teaching someone is the
Yeah, that's
best
good.
opportunity to learn
That was
for
Hmm.
actually
me.
my second last question that I had written here that I haven't asked you, and again you're answering it.
Ah,
This starts
actually,
becoming scary.
I'm moving to France. I'm moving to France in 2 weeks. I uh, I have much bigger studio, and the only thing I need a bigger studio because I'm just one person and I do not need big studio. I just need a
Hmm.
studio, like two desks. That's it, like clean one and dirty one, and a place for my legs. But I will have much bigger one with the table for six in the middle, and it will be prepared to have workshops, and it will be
Oh,
prepared to
that's
have an
cool.
apprentice, and it will be prepared to have visitors and friends coming and learning urushi or
That's
just
really
having
cool.
fun. And I expect this for me to be another great opportunity to learn.
I'm
Awesome.
looking
Teaching
forward to my
people,
invitation to visit you in France.
absolutely, you are invited. You both are invited. And what I noticed
Thank
that
you.
people say that I always answer questions, but because most of people who want to learn about Urushi ask, uh, they inevitably meet me at some point. Because when you start
Hmm.
looking how to do Urushi, how to learn Urushi, what is Urushi, you will find my website or my channel or my Instagram, and they end up asking me for help, like where to buy, what to use, how to mix, what to do, and I always answer those questions. And sometimes I I I noticed that I spent like 4 hours answering question after question from two guys, one from United States, another one from Philippines, about Urushi. And I'm
Hmm.
not tired, and I'm having fun, and I learn because some of those people they learn very fast, and they can jump through some problems I was crawling through, they can jump through them with my help. So they can come back with some ideas I never had, with some
Yeah, but
remarks
it's
I
important.
never
You
had.
can learn from each other, right?
Yes, absolutely. We
That's
talk with
okay.
each other. People think that it's the same. They are not competitors, they
That's
are
good.
colleagues. And for me, the most important moment was then people, artists and craftsmen from Japan started to talk to me and started to ask me questions and started treating me as a colleague, not as
Wow.
a interesting, crazy Pole from Warsaw trying to do
That's real
something.
recognition
Yeah, it was
if
it
they
was
do
cool.
things like
When
that.
I
Yeah.
was recognized and treated like with respect by people working with Urushi in Japan, it was the happiest,
But you
from
deserve that as well.
professional point of view, the happiest moment.
Hmm.
And when I
You
sold
deserve that.
pens to Japan, it was super cool. It was super
Yeah,
super
I can
super nice.
imagine.
I'm
All right, guys,
still
we are running out of time, so I have to cut this off a little bit. Sorry, Michal. Before we're ending the show, we need your question for our next guest, which I
oh my
already
god.
kind of revealed. So, yeah,
Ah,
what can we
sure,
ask him to start the show
I,
with?
I had a question for the general question without knowing who the guest is, and I will stick with it because I I give away a lot of pens, and
Hmm.
I think that we should do this. We all pen freaks, pen sellers, pen makers, pen buyers. We should do this because we should spread the virus. And the only way in spreading the virus is giving away some pens to people. And usually I have three models of pens I typically give away. They are all pretty cheap. And
Hmm.
it's Safari, it's Caveco Sport, and it's TWSBI. And I buy them sometimes in bulk, like 5 pieces, or if I see some special offer, it doesn't matter what the color or there's a promotion, I
Hmm.
buy some of them, and they are for kids in the family, for kids of friends,
That's
for
really
people who
nice.
got interested in it. I just give them, and I usually give them with some ink or some
That's
instruction or
nice.
some.
So they can
So
start
the
writing.
question is, the question is
Yes.
not from his brand,
Hmm.
because I know that
Yeah.
it's a brand. What pen he would consider to be a wise gift in such a situation? Not a gift for a special person,
Hmm.
but
Starter pen
spreading the
to
virus.
get somebody
Yes,
going into
yes,
the.
yes. It might be one of I mentioned or something completely different.
Yeah.
Maybe
All
from
right.
his
I will
brands too,
ask the
because
question. I
it
will ask
wouldn't
this
be
question.
fair, but it might
What's
be
the
from his
best
own
starter
brand.
fountain pen that you would give to the kid of a friend
But
or a
not
relative?
I
buy
will ask that question.
yourself if you would be a beginner, but to give to someone
Yeah,
with
yeah.
some words of encouragement and like a high probability that it will turn into some kind of
This is a good
a
question. I like this one.
Yeah,
I
it's a
like
great
this one.
question. I also like it.
I
Very
like this one.
thoughtful.
I'm going to ask it to Matthias Reingart, the CEO from Diplomat, next week. Guys, I have to end the show. We're over an hour. I think this is the longest episode we did. So thank you for
For
that,
sure.
Mihao. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
You telling the story about you and your life and your hobby and all the Urushi work that you do. I see you in a few weeks on the Dutch Pen Show, of course,
Yes,
June 4th. So that
I'm
will be a lot
coming.
of
I'm
fun again.
coming.
Yes. Mikael, thank you so much for being the co-host.
Thank
It was
you.
great again.
I never had an easier
And
job than today.
yeah, today was a really easy job for you, but that's okay. That's cool. Next week we will have Matthias on the show, and I will see you again. And please, guys, don't speak German together because it will be fine. So
Good idea. Thanks.
yeah, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this through our
Thank
YouTube
you.
channel, make sure to
Thank you.
subscribe now. If you're listening to us through Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or some other podcasts thing, make sure to follow us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.